Okay, so I used Playbeat. I'm recording with the iPad Mini 6. Doesn't have the greatest camera. Definitely not better than the iPhone, but I'm doing it because I want to show you something I'm using the iPhone for. So I started with the iPad using Playbeat 3, which I'm not a step sequencer person, but I wanted to start tinkering around with the cinematic type sounds, drum sounds. And it's just a starting point for me to mess around and see what comes out of it. So I came up with two patterns that I liked. I'm trying to mute those and keep this one. Okay. And so then I put those patterns into Koala just so I could use them as a trigger instead of going back to the SP, because that would have cost me more time to sit there and use the SP in that. I'm using the SP right now as the sound card into the speakers. So check this out. I just did these beats. So they're nothing that I would do normally. So don't be thinking it's an impressive thing, because it's absolutely not. But here it is. So that's what it is. It's just two parts put together. And again, it's not impressive. I'm not a step sequencer person, but it's kind of just me using some trial and error. I could make a beat better than that by using just this in itself, but I wanted to try something different. And typically I lean towards obviously R&B, jazz, hip hop type stuff. But anyway, so that being said, then I wanted to use the iPhone, which I'm going to turn this way for right now and close this out, to create some chords. I could have did that on the iPad too also and use like scalar, but I used tonality this time just to mix it up. E flat Dorian, and just pick some chords from there. You've seen my other videos where I talk about that. And then I used, I think it's called Mood Units Waverly. And I use like like the jazz chorus thing in there, which is kind of nice. Add in my favorite reverb, which is on iOS, that is EOS 2. And then the bit juggler, I created my own little PO33 sound. I think I've talked about that in a video before. If not, drop me a comment if you want me to show you what I use for it. The settings I use. The equalizer, I took some of the mids out, mid highs, I guess that'd be probably mids actually, and almost all the highs, just because I didn't want it to sound teeny, thin, whatever you want to call that. And I ran this to it. So that's the sound, right? So pretty much, I showed this in the previous video. If I use the camera kit USB to a USB-C, I can run it right in and just basically play it. Or you can use Bluetooth, and Bluetooth, if you have a sound already in here you like, you can just Bluetooth and play it that way. So this is what I came up with chord-wise. I'm going to unmute 2 and I'm going to mute 1 and just let you hear the chords. And that's ran through 8-bit, by the way. Remember, it's PO33, so it's going to be degraded. So those little pops you hear in there are just part of the artifacts from the degrading of the sound to 8-bit. And the sample rate is a lot lower too. I think it's like 23,000 hertz, something like that. Okay, so then put those two together and you come up with. I did 2 sections of chords. The drums just are 2 sections too. But I'm gonna mix it a little lower. I'll leave that one there. Those drums came through louder than what I was expecting. But anyway, so there you have it. So that's kind of it. And it's different. It's not my normal go-to. But again, I'm exploring, just trying new things to see. Yeah, all right. So they do, if you use some of the presets, that they have the free presets. I didn't get any ones that's paid. In the Playbeat 3, they kind of do the mixing of the sounds for you, and it sounds really good. I think it actually sounds great. I mean, but it's not your typical play your own beat type thing. It's using their sounds and then just taking randomizing of what notes, and you come up, if you hear something you like, or maybe you tweak something you like, then you make that happen. All right, so next thing I did, let's go back to here. So then I wanted to put a bass line. So I either have choices. I either gonna use something on iOS or the computer, or I'm gonna play the bass in. I chose this time to use one of my favorite iOS apps for bass. In fact, probably one of the only ones I would use, because the rest, unless you're going with something synth, this is the closest I found to natural sounding bass, which is iFretless bass, and I use it a lot. Plus, I like the fact that I can play it on there. You got to get rid of you can't have reverb on there. It's weird. I'm going to take the reverb off, because I think they already put, if you go into settings, you hold down here, you go into the setting, depending on which one you, let me see if I can do this. Might be easier, because it's usually easier to see it. Go into the settings. So yeah, so see, they put a reverb size. I tend to not like that much reverb on a bass, but maybe it's what helps to. But I did EQ. I used the same EQ to pull some of the mids and highs off of it, just so it didn't sound so. Because this this bass that I used, if you see me moving it a lot, it's because I'm on an iPhone, right? So I got to move my hands more. Is a muted pick bass. So usually when you have a pick bass, it's gonna be a little, I don't want to call it ice picky, but kind of picky sounding, right? Because you're using a pick on a metal string. So just EQ'd out the highs just so that it would lessen that a little bit, so it wouldn't be so awesome. So anyway, use that. I actually played it straight into here and recorded it. So I'm gonna play it with it. Well, you know what? I can play it separate. There, I'll play it separate so you can hear it. Little turnaround. Okay, so it's a little staticky right now, but that could be two things. One's the SP shutting off. When I'm not doing anything on the SP, it doesn't. That's the only thing I wish it would just let me control it, like not turn off if I'm not touching it, right? I'm using it as an interface, so sometimes that can be a little tricky. That does the same thing with my duet, though. For some reason, they all do that. I don't know why, but. All right, so we heard it. Let's put the drums and that back in. The bass could be done better. It's just an idea. Yeah, I gotta do that bass over and make it sound better, but you get the idea. I just wanted to show you kind of the workflow. So the cool points here is just that you can use the iPhone straight in and use the instruments. So if you don't have a bass you like, I mean, obviously if I'm using the sounds in here, my favorite bass in here amongst others is this one. And I feel like I could use that, and then I could tweak it a little bit by going in and turning the highs down a little bit. Right? So let's mute track 3, and let's play, and let's see if I can play it in here, which is pretty much, let me remember my notes that I use. Okay. E flat. All right. Wait, what did I play? I played E flat, G flat. No, that's not G flat, G sharp. Where's the G flat? Brain's having moments. I think it might be G sharp. All right. Turn that instrument up. It's different when I'm seeing it, when I'm playing on here, because I got the notes in front of me and I'm thinking about it, but I'm not looking at it right now. So, but I'm gonna learn it. Don't worry. Oh. Dun, dun. Wait. One thing I don't like about this bass is, maybe I could fix that. I don't know. Let me see if I go into here. Go into here. See how it just dies off so soon? Okay, here we go. Brain had a moment. I wanted to... Nope, not that. It decayed. Like, give me a little... Nope, this one. There we go. Not that long. Too long. See how the note rings out like that? I like that. Let me see. Maybe it's this one. See, it wants to like loop around. Anyway, you get the point. Using iOS as an instrument, that's my thing. I choose to do is use it as an instrument because it works really well that way. I think it satisfies me as far as playing it with it, because I generally just don't like recording on it as much. I do still use Koala, still use all those things, but for some reason it just doesn't do it for me when it comes to recording. And part of that is I'm spoiled with Ableton not being able to use audio, and I don't like having to go back to MIDI if I don't have to. I use MIDI on like certain things when I have to use it, but I try to stay away from it as much as I can. I generally want to just use audio, but that's just a preference. So anywho, all right, so that's it for this video. Just wanted to show you some cool things that you can do with your iPhone, and using obviously the OP-1 field, and I'm using just the SP for the sound, but this could be all done in just using two things. You could just use this and this, but I'm gotta build bass sounds. That's the one thing that I have to do, is if I'm gonna use this for anything other than synth, which I like it for synth, but when it comes to the bass portion of it, because I do like an authentic sounding bass, I need to use like a Trillion for when it comes to software, and then a regular bass. Those are my favorite choices. So I kind of want to start, and probably the next thing I will do outside of this is why I wanted a small interface thing that I could plug a bass into, so I could just record in. Because you can record in, I think I showed this, you can record directly into it. It's not clean. It's not that it's not clean, it's just not gonna be as clear, because the sound is just not there for that. It needs to have a sound card to it to bring in things like real instruments, in my opinion. And I got to figure out the best route for that. It worked well with the Roland GoPro, but the GoPro is just not good quality. And I don't like buying something that I think is going to break out the gate, type thing. So, and unfortunately with the SP, I would have to make a decision on using the outs of the SP, because if you try to use the USB and I guess I could power the USB without the using, and then send the USB into here, and that might actually work. So I'm gonna try that. That might be something that I'll do on the next one, because the SP works well sending the bass through it. So, but anyway, all right, enough of me rambling. That's it for this video. I'm out.